What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Crimson Artist YouTube video. If you have visited my channel before, welcome back. This is, my name is Raj Chetta, and welcome to, oh geez, how many are we at this point? 11-ish? I'm starting to lose track of how many movies there are in this friggin' cinematic universe. Let's do a countdown, shall we? We have Iron Man, Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, the first Avenger, The Avengers, Iron Man 3, Thor, The Dark World, Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and this is the 10th film in this ever-growing cinematic universe. And yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. What else can I say? Now, I wasn't a big comic book reader when I was a kid. Like I stated this in my Winter Soldier review, that the only few comics I did manage to pull out was Watchmen, The Dark Knight Returns, Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and The Death of Captain America, as well as the Civil War arc, and a lot of Spider-Man issues. Those were the books I read growing up. I didn't read a whole lot, and Guardians of the Galaxy is a group of individuals that I had I've heard briefly in various sources, like Marvel vs. Capcom, where they had Rocket Raccoon, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. A talking rocket. A talking raccoon that shoots rockets. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, the Fantastic Four is I get it. It's comic book, it's fiction, but that alone was kind of bringing it a little way too far for me for some reason. And then I heard that James Gunn wrote and directed this movie, and it has a pretty amazing cast from Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Bradley Cooper, and Vin Diesel, of all people, to be in this film. Oh yeah, we also have Dave Bautista. Well, more on him later. So going in, aside from that one teaser trailer with the Hooked on a Feeling song, which is easily one of the most catchiest songs you could ever find. It's an instant win for Marvel. If you want to, especially with the soundtrack and whatnot. So I had a feeling going in that this was going to be a pretty much Marvel's version of Star Wars, but a lot of humor involved and some really catchy tunes. And that's pretty much what I got here. It's a fun movie that itself is a space comedy, and it embraces that. There's a lot of ridiculousness, and whenever there is a dark and serious moment that takes place, it is welcomed, actually. The cast alone, as I said, is fantastic. Chris Pratt, who I've before then only known from Parks and Rec and a few other films, such as Zero Dark 30, he really pulled it his own, and I know a lot of people have said this since it came out, but he had the combination of Han Solo and Marty McFly from Back to the Future. That's pretty much Star-Lord in this film. He is a bounty hunter. He's attracted to these various jewels, and he's a thief after all, right? But he has that mentality of a kid, yet he is he's very roguish. He's a smart ass. That's very much Han Solo, and I really dug his character, especially since he is basically the main focus of these movies. both this and Volume 2. Can't wait to talk about that. So yeah. Zoe Saldana, she did a pretty decent job. Like, she's badass and whatnot. I think she held her own pretty well. Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel, even though Vin Diesel only spoke technically 3 words of dialogue in different varieties and different ways of saying it, of course. He did a great job. But Bradley Cooper, he was aside from Chris Pratt, he was the main show stealer, Rocket Raccoon instantly became an instant favorite for not just me, but for everybody. And he definitely reminds me of this one guy I knew back in high school. We still get along, but his attitude, his sense of attitude, definitely reminds me of this one friend of mine. So that is kind of cool. Let's see. Dave Bautista. What else can I say? I personally believe that he is the best wrestler turned actor. Now, I know that when wrestling occurs, they're basically faking it. I know it's all fake, whatever. But when it comes to a professional wrestler that is moving on to acting, and you have to take this to a very high consideration, because sometimes it can go either way. It could be decent to overall terrible. Like, for example, The Rock, he's genuinely okay in his films. Whenever he's on the big screen, I'm like, okay, I don't mind it. He's fucking badass. He's The Rock, But then there are other times where we got something like, say, Suburban Commando with Hulk Hogan. Like, really? This is what we paid money to see and shit? I mean, granted, Suburban Commando is a guilty pleasure of mine, and I absolutely love that movie, but it's not a good movie. It's just not. And he's just an over-the-top fucking actor, but a badass wrestler, don't get me wrong. Dave Bautista is the best of them all. Like, he showed actual range here, and it made me excited to see more of his character in the sequel, or sequels, considering Guardians are joining the Avengers in Infinity War, which is really, really exciting to when you think about it, because not only do we have the usual cast such as Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, but we're getting these guys along with the mix. So a bunch of fucking misfits. Oh boy. So the story is pretty much very basic, very simplified. It's basically the Avengers in space, but with lesser known characters. Where a group of individuals have to come together to protect the galaxy from a threat that's pretty much it. I don't need to tell you what the story is. It's very basic and very... Yeah, I don't really need to say anything in regards to the plot. It's very basic. And looking back, as much as I enjoyed the film, and I still do, the story is generic, if you really get down to it. I mean, like I said, it's the same kind of movie as The Avengers, but with lesser-known characters, and in space. The one major flaw, and the idea of this film's story being generic isn't really a flaw per se. It's how they utilized this kind of story is what made the movie so damn endearing. Now, the major flaw I do have to bring up, it's something that a lot of people have brought up since the making of this movie. Now, a lot of people will have to agree to this when it comes to the villain of this movie. And yeah, I wouldn't say he's a weak villain. I gotta say that he did pose a pretty major threat to the Guardians, but he's just not that memorable, except for one scene, which is the dancing scene between him and Star-Lord, if you know what I mean. But other than that, I really couldn't get into his character. I think he's like the second weakest villain behind Malekith from Dark World. I don't know what else to say. He's just a meh character. I just couldn't really get into. So yeah, that's like my only major flaw. But other than that, this is still a genuine blast. The effects are fucking phenomenal, man. I really love it. Love the action. Love these characters. I really do. This is definitely Scream's sequel. You know, I'm glad that they made Volume 2, and eventually Volume 3 is supposed to be coming out sometime after Infinity War, which kind of is a little bit of a bummer if you really think about it, because now that you know that there's going to be a sequel, the surprises at the end of Infinity War is going to be kind of meaningless now, because like, oh wait, this character's getting a sequel? Oh, I thought he was dead officially, but whatever now. Hopefully Marvel will surprise us in the end. I do hope so, but I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I am excited and a little bit concerned. And this is at this point in the MCU where I was kind of having a little bit of concerns regarding the rest of this franchise. As much as I enjoy it, as much as I love it, I did have some complaints that I will bring up in my Age of Ultron review, which is coming out next week. So I can't wait to talk about that. Yeah. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening or watching, and if you if you loved Guardians, let me know. If you hated it, if you think it's an overrated gem, let me know in the comments below what you think of this movie. If hit like, subscribe, as well as the bell notifications,